Hey guys, welcome back to Maelstrom Gaming Studios. I'm Craig, and today we're gonna go over a recent tournament I went to. I brought the Hierophant out for a game. I typically like to do that at a tournament, a local one, just an RTT, at least once a year, see what fun I can have with him. And I had a lot of fun. Title of the list, fireworks for the new year, and you'll see in the game why I did that. So, if you're interested in this video, do like and subscribe to stay up to date on all of our content here at Maelstrom Gaming Studios. I cover a lot of Tyranid stuff. I like to cover my tournaments that I do with my Tyranids. Haven't really done any tournaments without my Tyranids really since the channel, and if I did, I didn't really cover them on the channel. So I like to cover that, all sorts of Tyranid tactics and things like that. And I just want to say thank you to our members. We've got a lot of you, a couple new recent additions, so thank you to all of you. If you want to consider becoming a member, support us, let us do more of this content here. Links down in the description below. But with all the way, let's dive into today's video. So just a quick overview of the tournament. This was a 26-player RTT, so a lot of people, basically 2 slots less than a max or min-sized GT. This had a variety of players. We had people who were playing for LVO practice, people like me who are more so just playing for fun, not going to LVO this year. A wide variety of armies. I believe there was at least a Votan. We had some Chaos, we had some Demons, we had some Tau. A lot of Necrons, people really liking the new Necrons, specifically the Catan. I think I counted something like 10 or 12 Catans for 4 to 5 players. So a lot of them out on the table. And then some other things like the armies I played, you'll see some Sisters and World Leaders. But overall a pretty fun event, I will say. ITC player place, just so you keep that in mind with how the games went. And then let's get into what exactly I brought for the list. So this list had to be the smallest, at least by model count wise, the smallest list I've ever brought to tournament, for sure in 10th edition. We did play Crusher Stampede. I think Crusher Stampede is not the best of detachments. Actually, it's probably our worst detachment. However, a Hierophant does make the Crusher Stampede worth it more than any other monster in the game. So in the list, we did bring a Hive Tyrant with the ability to, for +1, I believe it's +1 to hit and wound monsters and vehicles. He was a full melee build, so no gun, Scything Talons, and a Lash with Bone Sword. I figured the enhancement only helps in melee. The gun is really useless, so let's just get him up the board into melee and be decent at it. Brought the Death Leaper. He kind of sat around on the home objectives, held those for a while. Killed some of the deep striking units that popped in to try and threaten my home objective. Pretty good for his point value. No battle line, not a single gargoyle or termagant or hormagant, anything. No battle line. The rest of the list, obviously we had the Hierophant, 810 points. Probably just like to see, I don't know, get 10 points shaved off of him. He's pretty good as far as Titans go, but he's not overpowered or crazy terrifying. He will die, but still a fun model. We did have a Biovore. I did want to still try and score some secondaries. 2 Neurolictors, 2 Maleceptors, I had a Psychophage. Hit and miss on the Psychophage. He's pretty good. The 6-up Feeling of Pain is pretty good, having a bubble of that with all the monsters. Plus he gets a significant number of buffs between his abilities and Crusher Stampede's abilities to make him decent. So he's an okay include. We had a Harsvex just because he's 125 points and a nasty monster, and 3 individual Ripper Swarms to allow me again to score some secondaries. So let's just talk a little bit about the Hierophant and what I'm planning to accomplish with this, bring it into the list here. Just because normally I don't do this with all of the armies, but because the Hierophant is a special case, we're going to talk about it a little bit more in depth in this video. So Hierophant stat line right off the bat. 12-inch movement, solid. Toughness 14, 2-up save, 30 wounds. Leadership 8, hopefully you got Synapse near him, and OC of 12. He's got a 5-up invuln save, which is fine. It's good to have, but you're rarely going to rely on that invuln. You'll have armor to help you in most cases too. His ranged weapons really are what make him stand out. He's got 2 of them. He's got his Bioplasma Torrent, which is an assault 12-inch range 3d6 flamer. Strength 7, AP -2, 1 damage. So very good at clearing out 1 wound things, and still pretty solid at clearing out 2 wound stuff with that AP 2 in there. He also has two of these guns following. So he's got the Dire Bio Cannon, 2 of them. They're 48-inch range, D6 plus 6 shots, hitting on 3, strength 10, AP -3, 3 damage. Now, that's 2. So if you focus fire both of these guns on the same target, that is 2d6 plus 12 shots. And I will say in my game, I rolled snake eyes and boxcars in these games. So it was very nice to roll 24 dice. Also a little sad to roll 13. But very good weapons there. Strength 10, it's not great. You will struggle against the bigger stuff. But you also have melee for that. And hopefully you have some other weapons that can help. But it is a little bit of weakness. It's more of an anti-infantry or medium armor weapon. Melee, not great. He took a significant downgrade in this in 10th edition. So he still has his extra attack Lash Whip pods, which are 10 attacks, hitting on 3, strength 5, AP -1, 1 damage. Maybe you'll kill a few Marines with that. He's got his Titanic Scything Talons, which are 8 attacks, 2 for each big talon. Hitting on 3s, strength 20, so that's how you punch the vehicles, but only AP -2 and D6 plus 1 damage. Really, for something called the Titanic Scything Talon, I would have liked to see AP -3 and just flat 6 damage, kind of like what they used to be. AP -2 on the big stomps just doesn't seem that great. Especially going up against 2-up saves, they really just... Yeah, he killed a lot of Grey Knights, but it was a lot harder than you thought. And then, so he's got some abilities. The key one that I'm tapping into in this list is the Deadly Demise 2d6. Crusher Stampede has the detachment, has the stratagem to allow him to auto-explode for a CP if your opponent kills him on your turn. It's really written weird. Your opponent has to kill him on their turn, so careful with that. But the 2d6 mortals in a 6-inch bubble of any point on the model is absolutely massive. Sometimes if you get him up the board quick enough, he can do a big boom, sometimes not. He's got a couple abilities that are also decent. He's got the Apex Beast, so each time this model makes an attack that targets a unit that's battle shocked, he gets +1 to hit. Won't come up as much in Crusher Stampede because you're already be getting that. And stocking forward, he moves over things that are 4 inches less of height. Again, not huge, but it's something. He can transport models. I just found because he's so expensive, it's hard to put more models in there and then just have like half your army at least in this one monster. You can do it, but I caution against it, but you could. So some other just smaller abilities I'm using to boost this thing. So I already mentioned Crusher Stampede, obviously. He's going to be taking damage, so he'll take his wound or whatever wounds right away, and he'll be hitting on 2s with all of his stuff, which is great. And if your opponent gets him down to 14 wounds, which they're going to want to anyway, now he's getting +1 to wound, which again helps with killing those tanks even more with those dire bio cannons there. Another ability that I'm taking advantage of is the Psychophage, giving him 6-up Field of Pain. Just a little bit extra durability to help him out is not a bad thing. And then the Hive Tyrant, I'm bringing him to have that bubble to give him assault weapons, so I can rush him up the board and force my opponent to deal with him. Also, if my opponent is more of a castle-y or kind of holds your ground type of list, getting him up into my opponent to be well within 6 inches of a lot of his units, so when he auto-explodes, he does maximum potential damage. Again, just more speed to get him up the board, and the assault weapon buff from the Tyrant allows him to do that. There's also a couple strats that are good for the Hierophant that the Hive Tyrant can make for free. Specifically, I believe it's Swarm Guided Salvos, which makes him ignore all ballistic skill negative modifiers and gives his guns ignore cover. He already has the ignore cover and flamer, but for something with stealth and in cover, maybe, those dire bio cannons for a free CP or 1 CP gets to just eliminate what would be a stealthy unit. So those are just a few things I want to touch on with the Hierophant, what I was thinking going into it. Now let's get into the games of what I played in this tournament. So let's get into my games. I played 3 games on Saturday. The first one was against the Sisters of Battle. Now this one, going into the game, I thought I had a pretty good chance of winning. I thought primary would obviously be a bit of a struggle bus because they have more models in one squad almost than I did in my entire army, which did make it difficult. However, they don't really have a ton of anti-monster, except for one unit, which I did not know about until it came to shoot me. So we'll talk about that. But the list was a ton of the Jump Sisters, Seraphim and Zephyrim, shooty ones, and stabby ones. I think he had at least 2 squads of each, maybe even a 3rd squad of one of them. Morvenval, she is pretty good at melee and decent anti-tank for herself. Celestine, the Triumphant, the whole assembly of characters that move around and still also join a squad of sisters. Primary mission was the one where you remove the center objective. I do really like that one. It causes some interesting gameplay options because you really avoid the center, so you don't need to be there, but at the same time, it's nice to be there. We pretty much had the Hierophant just going, walking up the board, really bouncing everything left and right. He had a few tanks that just bounced off of it, a few Meltas that were in range that just bounced off of him. No point in firing bolters or anything at it. So he felt pretty indestructible and just blasted. Turn 1, I think he shot a tank. Turn 2, he obliterated another tank, stabbed another one. He was feeling like this is going to be an easy game. However, the squad of Meltas, so it was 4 multi-Meltas and a character in there that gave him lethal hits. And I'm not 100% sure how this combo worked, but because this squad was in range of the St. Catherine Triumph thing, there must have been a stratagem in there too that allowed him to just make 4 of his use 4 miracle dice at once, and then allowed those to automatically be lethal hits. Again, not exactly sure what the combo was. Multiple people said that's what it was. But yeah, essentially I thought this multi-Melta squad was gonna, you know, pretty much bounce off me, maybe do 5, 6, 7 wounds to me. No, it did 33 damage to my Hierophant when it went up to shoot. Granted, I did not make a single invuln save. I had 5 up invulns. I failed all 6 of them, so that didn't help. That would have been an extra, I don't know, 2d6, 7 or so damage chunked off of that 33 total. But it was not enough to save the Hierophant, and he just died. Did not see it coming. I don't want to be like, oh, he had me with a gotcha moment, but had I known that that squad could just say, here are 4 lethal hit multi-Meltas right off the bat without even having to really think about it, I would have taken my Hierophant from that corner, went to the other corner, would have been a totally different game and probably a win at that. But you know what? That was my first time playing Sisters in 10th edition, so we learned, watch out for that multi-Melta squad. Still a good game in and of itself. It was 62-79. Really, even with the Hierophant going down, I still had an easy opportunity to win the game. It just came down to, he had 1 or 2 individual models from those jump pack units, those Seraphim and Zephyrin models, where Death Leaper came in and killed 4 of them. Or my Maliceptor shot at 1 and killed 4. The Psychophage charged in and killed 4. And there was just a bunch of individual ones that I didn't have the little fire to deal with, where it would just, you know, one of them would fly over here and one would fly over here, and then there's behind me lines, or one would fly this way and get an extend battle lines or something. It was just enough of these little 1 unit models left alive that allowed him to score enough secondary and deny potentially primary for me, which gave it into his favor. It also didn't help that the turn he killed the Hierophant, he also drew Bring It Down and no prisoners. So the Hierophant was an easy 10 points it gave up right there, which was unfortunate. All in all, it was a good game. Now we know when it comes to the Sisters. Game 2 for the Hierophant was very different. This was against Grey Knights. And if anyone knows Grey Knights, even moderately, they know that they don't have an answer to a Hierophant, let alone an army of all monsters. His list was pretty much a solid Terminator Paladin list with a bunch of Grandmasters and Librarians running around. He did have 3 individual strike squads, 3 5-man squads for doing those secondaries and taking early objectives with their scout move. But again, an all army of monsters, specifically a Hierophant of all things, was just not good for him. He still managed to pick up 37 points, and I still picked up 90. But outside of the librarians coming down and just absolutely vortex of dooming the crap out of the Neuralic or the Death Leaper, it was just the game of the Hierophant. The Hierophant walked around the table and just blasted 3-wound models off the table left and right. So not too much to say about that game. It was just the unfortunate luck of the draw for him. Still a great opponent. We've played a number of times, and it's always a good game with him, even if unfortunately he was getting wrecked by the Hierophant. But there's nothing I can really do about it. Nothing he could do about it. It is what it is. So that was game 2, nice and quick. But all that time saved by talking game 2 will get us to game 3, which was an amazing game. Game 3 was against the World Eaters, and I'm going to say right off the bat, this was an insanely bloody and quick. This had to have been, at a tournament, the fastest game of 10th edition I have ever played, where one person just didn't get blown off the table turn 1 or 2. Even though the score 41-96, it was a big loss to me. It was basically one die roll from this score being flipped the other way for the Tyranids. Just a wicked game. So his list, pretty standard from what I've been doing a little bit of research on World Eater lists lately. We're getting them on the channel again here soon. It's been a little bit. They're getting some good 8-bound upgrades and stuff here, so you'll see them hopefully soonish. But I've been researching lists for World Eater, studying up on them a bit, and pretty standard list. He's got, Angron, Exalted 8-bound, regular 8-bound, Berserkers, and a whole bunch of characters, Karn, a bunch of Juggernaut Lords, and then what's he called? Master of Executions. Like I said, a very quick game. Turn 1, I got turn 1. He scouted his dudes forward. All of the Exalted 8-bound had the ability to scout because they were near character. His regular 8-bound scouted, and he basically set himself up in the middle, and it came down to, if my Hierophant made a 3-inch advance, I had a good chance to blast a significant number of 8-bound off the board. In return, we knew Angron was going to get his turn 1 charge whether I went up there or stayed back, so I just went for it. Hierophant and then 1 Maleceptor was able to get a far enough advance where we just blasted off, I believe it was his 9, we took off 7 8-bound in our first turn of shooting, which is a significant number of points. That's pretty much it that happened all of turn 1 for me. I scored a few points here and there. His turn 1, pretty much everything that wanted to be in combat got into combat with me. It was just an insanely bloody, just everything up the board, storming the gates. One thing that did save me to keep this in the game is that his Master of Executions charged into my Hive Tyrant with a group of Berserkers. I was able to do a good little counter charge with Death Leaper. With Fight First, I was able to go first and precision out that scary character, which really kept my Hive Tyrant alive. So he killed him out, which just started the insane bloodshed. I lost a let's see, what did I lose? I lost a Harsvex? No, I lost the Maleceptor and the Neuralictor to all of the Berserkers and stuff. And then the Hierophant went down to Angron. Valiant effort on him trying to survive, but Angron ended up doing just enough damage to clean him out in one foul sweep. I think with the Feel No Pain and everything, he only overkilled me by 1 or 2 wounds, which is pretty good. Still, Angron can do an absurd amount of damage, overkilling a Titan in a swing of combat. Again, didn't really make, I think I only made 1 of like 6 invuln saves, so not great, or was it 7 invulns? Anyway, not great on the invuln rolling at all with the Hierophant this tournament. Feel No Pains were okay. Again, he died, but most importantly, the whole reason why I said at the beginning my list was called Fireworks for the New Year. Crusher Stampede had that beautiful auto explosion strat, and we popped that one off right then and there. I think I did like 9 wounds to Angron. I killed like some crazy 8 Berserkers or something. I dropped 3 regular 8-bound. I wounded another 8-bound. My own monsters got pretty lit up in there too. It was an insane amount of damage that was caused. And Hierophant went down. Most importantly, the damage I did was to my Hierophant and my Hive Tyrant, dropping them below half strength, meaning they got the +1 to wound Angron, which was perfect because now in my turn 3, I was set up perfectly for the Hive Tyrant and Angron to go, Hive Tyrant and the Hierophant to charge Angron and fight before him. He did not have the CP to interrupt, so I thought, okay, he has like 6, 7, 8 wounds or something left between the Hierophant and the Hive Tyrant having +1 to hit and wound, countering some of the bracketing. Then we should be good to go. And it worked out. The Hive Tyrant did his damage, brought the Angron down to 4 wounds, or 6 wounds. The Hierophant came in, did the little attacks first, dropped 2 more wounds off of him. Then the big attacks came in, 4 hits, 4 wounds, because you're hitting on 3s, wounding on 2s with those big guns. Unfortunately, or claws, unfortunately right there, he made all 4 invuln saves. Had he made 2 of those, that was likely 8 damage. He's feeling the pain, no way he saved them. Even if he made 3 out of 4 of them, there was still a 50-50 shot that about a 50-50 shot that I killed Angron with 1 swing going through. So unfortunately, he did make all 4, and then Angron, in return, split his attacks in half, picked up the Hive Tyrant, picked up the Hierophant, and just slashed him to pieces. And everything else pretty much crumbled from there. Again, the only reason he probably won that game, and we talked about it after because the game, again, was only like an hour long. The only reason one was because Angron survived, and Angron went around picking off my remaining threats, killing my remaining Maleceptor, killing the Psychophage, killing Death Leaper, killing the Bio, there wasn't much left after it. So he cleaned up. Had I killed him, the Hive Tyrant could have cleaned up the remaining Berserkers. The Maleceptor and the Hierophant would still be alive and go after the remaining characters and tanks and just sit on their objectives. He really, after that whole thing was done, he had Karn. Actually, after the game was done, because Death Leaper and a Neuroelectra still fought to the death to try and keep me in this game, even though I know it was gone. He had Karn, Angron, 2 empty Rhinos, and 2 Juggernaut Lords. And 10 Jackals. That was it. That's all he had left. So he had lost the bulk of his army by the end of turn 2, barring some Berserkers that took into the later rounds to kill. But still, had I gone first, really easy game for me to just pick up and start slaughtering what he had left and scoring all of the points. So awesome game, super quick. Just came down to that one really nice die roll on his part, and it was a fun game. So that's pretty much it for the list. Let's do a little bit of recap again on how I thought this went, and is it worth trying out for you guys? So again, just in conclusion, quickly here, overall, I had a lot of fun with the Hierophant. His guns are very good, like we talked about earlier. His melee's okay, and he's got some okay durability for his point cost. I do wish he was just maybe a few points. I know in the grand scheme of things, 10 points isn't going to change a lot, but 10 points cheaper would be nice. It is very matchup dependent, so if you want to really screw over your opponent, and your opponent is, say, Grey Knights, your Hierophant, you'll have plenty of fun with your Hierophant. However, if your opponent is Eldar and you know they like to bring the big Wraith Cannons, or the Prism Cannons, I believe it is what they're called, this thing won't last 2 turns. So it is very much, if your opponent has the stuff to kill him, he doesn't have that level of durability to stop him from dying. And if your opponent doesn't have the things to kill him, then they really don't have the things to kill him, and he's just going to stomp all of your opponent. So it's kind of that, it is what a Titan does. If it's it's a Titan. I don't know what else I can really say to it. It's a Titan. It skews the matchups. You either stat check your opponent or you get stat checked by your opponent. I am looking forward to the balanced data slate. That's why I brought this thing, is I didn't want to try anything too competitive, knowing the balanced data slate is right around the corner. So I thought, why not? What a perfect time to bring out the Hierophant. So that's pretty much all I got. I want to keep this one pretty short. Let me know in the comments, have you had success, fun with a Hierophant if you're someone who owns one in 10th edition? If not, have you tried Crusher Stampede and have fun? This is my only tournament I've done with Crusher Stampede. Okay results. Easily could have gone, well, matchup would change, but easily had an option, a potential to win all 3 of these games. Just a die roll, a significant sequence of dice rolls in each game swung it. So I'm happy with the results. Wasn't trying to win the whole thing, but it would have been hilarious if I did. So that's all I got. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time here at Maelstrom Gaming Studios.